Hello world, welcome to another episode of Frank Conversations. This week I have the honor and privilege of interviewing a mentor, a really inspiring being, author, shamanic minister, Star Wolf. Thank you so much for taking this time to speak with me. How are you?
I'm doing great, Frank. I'm really excited right now.
So tell me a bit about yourself. What are you doing in the world, and what piece are you holding right now in your life?
I am the president and the founder of Venus Rising Association for Transformation and also Venus Rising University. And that's kind of a mouthful, but it's 40 years in the making and creation. The program itself has been around in various forms for that long, and our organization helps people, first of all, transform themselves through Shamanic Breathwork and taking also SHIP, which is the Shamanic Healing Initiatory process that you are getting involved in, and the Shamanic Breathwork that you've been involved in. And we just have this experience and this view that if people can learn to breathe and drop into who it is that they really are, remember who it is they really are, that they can transform their lives, and that's how we're going to change the planet. And right now, obviously, if we look around, there's a lot of things that need to be changed. But it begins in here, not out there. You can protest, you can do things all day long, you can write petitions, but until we change, nothing in the outer world is going to change. And the breath work helps us go there.
Yeah, I so agree with that. Specifically, when people think of shamanism, they think of plant medicine and entering altered states of reality through plant medicine. And I know that there's like benefits to that. And there's also some downfall. I'd like to know, how is shamanic breath work similar to getting into these altered states of reality?
I would like to speak about the difference.
Okay.
The difference is, to me, instead of giving my power to the plant, I'm giving my power to the breath. So there's nothing wrong with that. I don't want people to hear me say that I'm criticizing other methodologies. Not at all. We're not the only church in town.
Right.
However, what I have found from my experience both with plant medicines in the past and my field research in the 60s, what I have found is I found for myself this really beautiful, always at hand. Always, I can do it on a train. I can do it on an airplane. I can do it at home. I can do it while making love. I can do it while taking a bath, while cooking dinner. Or I can do a real session where I lie down and do the breath work or have a co-journeyer with me. It's something that's there. It's available. It's not something outside of me. And how it relates to, other ways of expanding consciousness is it does the same thing virtually. But what I really love about it, that if all of a sudden, the child in the other room was sick and needed my help, I could stop the breathing process, collect myself and go. Or if my home caught on fire, I could walk outside. Or if I needed to quickly address something else. In other words, I'm learning quickly how to go in and out of altered states, not from something that's forcing me to do it. Even if it's gentle and loving and healing. Once you're in with certain things, you're in. And there's an advantage to that. You have to let go. You have to surrender. But in this process, too, you learn to surrender. You want to surrender. With the shamanic breath work, you used to surrender to whatever is ready to come up. And whether that's something from your childhood, whether it's a shadow piece that you've been projecting onto somebody else, whether it's an addiction, whether it's the bliss of your life that you've been avoiding. If there's a healing transformation, something you need to be aware of that you need to let go of, even if it's been a relationship that's been meaningful. The breath doesn't lie. This bigger part that we go to just doesn't lie to us. So I've been doing breath work for 35 years, and I've assisted thousands of people. I've trained tons of people. And to be honest with you, I've never seen breath work not work for people. It doesn't always bring up what you want, but it does bring up, to me, years ago when we used to do the psychedelic journeys, it was like you never know where you're going to have a bad trip or a great trip. But there's not a bad trip. What brings up is what needs to come up. And that can be shadow and it can be light.
So how and why does this work?
There's all kinds of reasons. You can go out and you can buy books on the power of the breath and healing breath. Scientists have written about the chemicals that are released in your brain. We have the spirit molecule that's released in the brain. And it's true. Physiologically, we have all the things that are in plants. As shamanic beings, we have all the plants, all the animals, all the minerals, everything that's ever been. We're made up of that. We're the new kids on the block. We're the new species. Incorporated, we have all those elders within us, the stones, the plants, the animals, literally and metaphorically. And we also have genes that haven't even awakened yet in our bodies. We have gene keys. My friend Richard Rudd writes about the gene keys. We have things that have not been awakened. So we look to see what can awaken, what can assist us. That's why in shamanism we call them power animals, we call them spirit guides. People use spirit medicines, people use certain minerals, all kinds of things, not just plants, certain sweat lodges, sun dances in certain tribes, and many other kinds of ways of doing that, vision quest. So the shamanic breathwork is really, I would say, adapted for the everyday person. That's what makes it this, and it's the everyday person. It's all of us that needs to know who we are, to know where we're headed, and to make these changes. Everybody can breathe. People say, well, not everybody can take plant medicine. That's true, and I know as working in the field of psychology, some people go over very quickly. They're a little more sensitive in that world. But the shamanic breath work, I would say, is available to most people, and that makes it a real plus for people.
And so the next part I want to talk about is this word shamanism. It's becoming such a popular fad type word, and almost like there's like a lot of charlatans using this word right now.
Absolutely.
But I know you have a whole history and lineage with this. Maybe you want to talk about, number one, your lineage, and number two, what makes this breath work shamanic?
Yes. Well, first of all, I would say that I believe personally that the word shamanic, which is a descriptor, it's an adjective, shamanic, there's a little bit difference than shaman. And I believe that shamanism and shamanic consciousness is everyone's birthright.
Oh.
That it belongs to the minerals, the plants, the trees, water, sky, earth, fire, animals, and human beings. Why would we be the only ones that aren't shamanic? Why would crystals be shamanic? Why would mountains be shamanic? Why would animals and power animals be shamanic and spirit guides? But human beings are like, just put, like the bad kids that don't get to be shamanic. We are, and I think our problem is that we've forgotten it. All of us come from lost tribes. And when we remember that our earliest ancestors, every single one of us, were shamanic, and they were deeply connected to all the things that now are being revived. And so part of what people today are doing, and many people are authentically, such as myself and others, have gone and they've found what's called indigenous shamans, people of the earth. Now I do want to say that indigenous also, I'm of the earth too, even if I never studied with a shaman. We all are of the earth. We all belong to that shamanic consciousness, but we've forgotten it. So many of us have been seeking out over the years, and I've been doing this since my late 20s and early 30s, finding other teachers who are still connected to the indigenous roots. Sometimes that's involved taking substances, sometimes it's ceremonies, sometimes it's direct teachings. I've been involved in all those different kinds of things. And where that led me to, because sometimes people say, well, Star Wolf, you're a new age or a plastic shaman. I'm like, I wish. I've been around 40 years doing this. I don't know how new age you could be when you're my age, with that. Mondeose made a joke about that one time. He says, I'm 80. I don't know how I can be new age, I've been doing this forever. But I really have looked to see what grows corn. And Grandmother Twyla of the Seneca Nation was a Wolf Clan grandmother that deeply influenced me. And she said to me, Star Wolf, only do what grows corn. The ceremonies, the rituals, the healing, find what feeds the people. Find what you can grow within yourself and then feed others. What grows corn? If it doesn't grow corn, don't do it. It's fad. So, and in some ways, kind of the good news is it is fad. Meaning that people are becoming aware of it. People are sometimes starting out with things that are faddish. But the truth is, that's kind of the beginning level. When we realize that what it's really about, here's what shamanism is really about. You can get all the crystals you want. I have my fair share of crystals. but it's about transformation. And if you don't want to transform, don't get involved with shamanic consciousness, because the very word itself means death and rebirth. To be involved in shamanic consciousness and then to add the breath to it as your medicine that takes you on the shamanic journey to the upper worlds, the lower worlds, the inner worlds, and all the worlds in between, means that you're going to get to really know yourself. And that means the light and the dark. And so it's shadow work. It's stalking your shadow. Sometimes people's shadows stalk them, but they don't stalk their shadow. If you stalk your shadow, you're actively saying, show me my dark side. And everybody has one. I don't care who they are. Every guru, everybody has a dark side. And everybody has an incredibly light side. And some people say the darker, the shadow, the greater the light. And I found that to be true. The more shadow, I think what that really means, the more I can own about myself, then the bigger my light gets, because I can see more. And then I can assist more people in their transformation.
That's so beautiful. I love learning from you. I love listening to you. You keep an audience really at the edge of their seat, wanting to learn more. That has been my experience here in the last 2 weeks, learning shamanic breathwork from this goddess. And so, talk to me about Venus Rising University. At the top is basically you have two main programs, one called SHIP, and one called Shamanic Breathwork Skills.
Right.
So maybe talk to us about SHIP. What is it? What's the acronym?
Right.
What is it about? And what do we go through in those 2 weeks?
Well, when people say they want to study with me or they read my books, and I have developed a program over the years, not only from my shamanic practice, but from my therapy years. I just recently finally let my addictions license go, so I'm an addictionologist. I've worked in the field of psychology, social work, counseling for a very long time. I've worked with all kinds of populations, from the young to the old, and mental states and all those kind of things. And I come by that honestly, being a hippie in the 60s myself and having a few mental breakdowns. So I want to say that my learning comes from both the educational route, from direct experience, which has been even more powerful than the educational route, quite frankly. But all those things together brought me to a place where for me at least, I felt there needed to be a new paradigm around the greater octave of healing. It's one thing, a lot of people nowadays will say, well, we're all healers, and I think it's great. We are. But healing also infers that there's something wrong with us that we need to fix. And I personally don't think we're broken. We can feel broken. We can feel brokenhearted, but I don't think that human beings are broken. We're not these miserable scourge of the earth that need to be, saved in some way. What I think is that we just simply need to grow up. And growing up means we have to wake up. And we wake up, what are we waking up to? We're waking up to all that we're capable of, the light and the dark, and we're waking up to our childhood. So it's part of the therapy part. We're going back and even waking up to what our births were like, because we now know that being in the womb is really powerful. And that, we're there, most of us, for 7, 8, 9 months. What's going on? That they say the biggest changes we'll ever go through physiologically are happening there, in that growth. We want to know how our birth, our childhoods, for those of us who believe in multidimensional reality, past lives, future lives, have affected us and made us these shamanic creatures that we are, these shamanic human beings. And SHIP explores that. Shamanic Healing Initiatory Process. SHIP. We set sail on a ship together with a group. We push off from shore. We go into unknown, uncharted waters. We take the deep dive in a safe container. We have a saying, safety first, transformation second. We create that safe cocoon or womb or whatever experience you want to call it, container, for us to go in and to be guided through that process, but to really allow our own inner shaman, meaning our own wisdom keeper, to come forth. Just like I said, shamanism is in every creature, why not us? That we awaken that inner shaman through the breath work. That's the medicine. We awaken it. And it begins to show us what we need to see. So we go through these initiations, and here's what they are. The first one is the spiral initiation. Stepping off of the circular path only, or the linear path, and going on the spiral, which takes us to new octaves of learning about ourselves even though it appears sometimes that we're learning the same thing, to understand that we're in that place maybe again, but we're not. Just as the tree, as it grows, has the spirals, but each one is different and broader. So there's a whole initiation and teaching around that. We go into the family of origin. If we want to know about ourselves, the fruit doesn't fall far from the tree. It's important to know that we're fruity for a reason, or nutty, and to know about the branches of our family. Even if we're adopted, we can still figure it out through breathing and through looking at our patterns. As we look at those patterns, we begin to take them apart, and we begin to see the reflections, and then we begin to see the shadow. That's the third initiation. We've been going here when what we needed to do was go here. And as we look back to this place, we realize that it's not happening out there. Maybe that person is that shadowy. But why do we even notice it? What does it mean to us? These are very simplistic and very quick things. But that's a powerful initiation. When we get to that initiation, it's so rich with the shadow. They say, that all the gold is in the shadow. You mind these parts of yourself, you bring them back. And Carl Jung spoke about that, and he said that it was the apprentice piece. You apprentice yourself to the shadow. You allow it to teach you, so that we go on to the next initiation, which I really love a lot. I love them all, but which is the beloved. And it's finding that, guess what? Tag. I thought it was out here all the time, just like the shadow. It's me. I'm the beloved. I can really love me, and that's not just to love yourself, and it's all feathers and roses, which I love feathers and roses, but they're really like, gosh, I love who I am. I'm such a hot mess sometimes, but I'm working so hard to be conscious, and sometimes I'm really amazing, and I'm my beloved. And I have all these other beloveds that are showing up. And how powerful is that? Because we tend to attract who we are, both the shadow and the light. So the beloved is really powerful, and it's also where you begin to acknowledge what helps you. You have all this gratitude. Perhaps you have a power animal like the wolf that you're connected to that guides you on your path. It's not just a metaphor. It's such a shamanic power that helps you. Perhaps it's a tree, or perhaps it's a deity or an archetype that shows up for you. And then the fifth initiation is really where you come into sacred purpose. Because a lot of us do things because our parents wanted us to, or in reaction to, we're not going to do what they wanted us to do. So we are either reacting against, or we're trying to, still be the good boy or good girl or whatever. But our sacred purpose truly is what turns us on, what makes us feel alive, what challenges us. It's not always about feeling, just happy. Sometimes it's gut-wrenching. It's like, oh my God, to do this, I'm going to have to change this. I'm going to have to speak this truth, and I'm shaking in my boots. I'm going to have to confront this person. I'm going to have to, if you've ever been that, you're sitting there thinking, oh my God, I'm going to have to say this to this person. Please don't make me do that, anything but that. It's like, but are you going to do your sacred purpose, or are you going to head for the hills, That's, but sacred purpose, there's an Oda love song that Diana Ross sang, and I forget who the guy was with her, that said, ain't no mountain high enough, ain't no, river deep enough to keep me from you, baby. And that's where we have to go with our sacred purpose, that if I'm really going to fully live my shamanic consciousness, if I'm going to fully be present and be a real humane being, if I'm going to do that, I've got to live my sacred purpose. So I'm in a place now in my life, and I've been here a long time. If I can't do my sacred purpose, I have no interest in being here, because without it, everything else goes away. My inner beloved, I go back in my shadow, go back in my family origin addictions, and I go back to this whole place of stepping back on a linear path, or an addictive path is circular. So it goes the other way too. So it's a daily practice. You get the template, and it's a daily practice.
Star, I freaking love you. You turn me on. You turn me on when you speak from your heart, and your power and your presence and the work you're doing in the world. It's a real privilege and honor to be a student of yours, to walk the path with you, to know you. I have a lot of gratitude. And so before we sign off, is there anything else you want to share with the world that is a direct transmission from your heart?
Well, it's kind of cliche now, but I really do believe we are the ones we've been waiting for. And hot messes that we are or brilliant beings that we are, and I say both and. I think it's time that we stop denying who we are and to own up to the fact that we're changing the climate, we're changing the planet, whether it's the emotional or the physical. We're changing everything on this planet. And if we could change it in directions that we don't want it to go, we can sure as heaven change it to the places we want it to go. Absolutely. We have the power because we have the power of love. And when we commit to love, nothing can stop us. Keep breathing.
So how do we find you? How do people, if they're interested in SHIP or Shamanic Breathwork, how do we find out more about you, find your books, all of that?
Well, if you want to find my books, honestly, just go on Amazon. I've authored and co-authored 10 books. I have 2 more in the chute right now that I'm co-authoring. And you can go into Amazon, and I'll put a little plug in for my publishing company, not mine personally, but the one that publishes me, which is Bear & Company and Inner Traditions, a really respected publishing company, has many wonderful authors. My website is shamanicbreathwork.org, and Venus Rising Association for Transformation. We're a nonprofit spiritual organization, and our university that houses all of our programs, and that people can, if they choose to, go on for a degree with Venus Rising, they can. And they should be able to find me through those venues. And also, I've been known to pop into people's dreams. I'm a dream walker, like Grandmother Twyla. So sometimes people say, I met you in a dream. And that's how I met Grandmother Twyla originally. And that's how I've met a lot of people. And so if I don't see you in the flesh, I'll see you in the dream time.
Amazing. Thank you so much for taking this time with me. I know how packed these 2 weeks have been. If you've enjoyed this interview, check out Star on any of her websites. And if you like this content, like, comment, share, let us know what you thought, what you think of Star Wolf as a being, her work. And check out thespiritualplayboy.com. And remember, let love free. It's the only way we'll ever change anything. Peace.